doing and actually developing something that perhaps we can have a workable product in some short period of time. I think by combining the two committees, we can focus on things by deleting the communications committee and the money committee. The money committee was just too sprawling and had too many other collateral issues, I think, to really get involved in this cybersecurity self-assessment tool. So basically what we have looking forward are three substantive committees: the Information Storage and Infrastructure Committee, the Cyber Attacks Committee, and the Staff Awareness Office Culture Committee. And I think part of your materials also include the Colorado self-assessment, full self-assessment tool that I think is, it's 40 some pages long, but the only thing that would apply to us would be the self-assessment tool number 5, which is about 5 pages having to do with cybersecurity and technology. And I think we can, the three substantive committees can look at that, can use none or some or all of those questions as a template, or just borrow them together or add to them and modify them. The Wyoming self-assessment tool is relatively short, and it only has at the end a self-assessment tool on technology, which is a little bare bones, but there may be some things in there that the three substantive committees can build on. So I think what we would like to try to do is, once again, get the three substantive committees to build out a question self-assessment template, and let us sort of circulate that among all of us and look at it. And we kind of want to have it done by March 26th, so that we'll have a few weeks to kind of look at it, all of us, wordsmith it, add some things, and then have a report for the April State Bar Council meeting. So that's kind of where we are, and I'm going to open it up for discussions and comments and projections and anything anybody wants to say. Brian, you got anything to say on that?
You're talking about me or Brian Folk?
Oh, Brian Folk. Nope.
No, I will admit with some candor that there may have been one or two portions of the speech you just made that I missed, dealing with the other gentleman who was just here with me a moment ago.
We're very impressed with your assistance.
Yeah, you didn't miss much. It was basically just a projection trying to get some basic work product done by March 26th in the three substantive committees that are listed here.
No, and I can say at least for my part, the difficulty in being able to participate in anything last fall was caused by the gentleman who was 5 months old today, and so fortunately allows for at least a slightly more structured schedule at this point. So based on everything that we've had been able to accomplish when given deadlines before, and the Cybersecurity Committee, and based on just the few conversations I've had dealing with the combination committee, I don't think, and Brian Oaten, you actually maybe can tell me if you have any thoughts on that, but I don't think it'd be difficult to get anything put together in that period of time.
No, I would hope not. I think that's where we were thinking about March 26th being a time giving us a timeline that's 2 months long. It also will give us 3 months before the next meeting so we can get everything together. I think this is that part, just as a reminder, we were talking about this at the October meeting, to not worry about overlap when drafting these questions, because I think we saw from the different presentations that there are a lot of ways that these different working groups can start touching on similar topics. But go ahead and draft what you think is appropriate, what you think is best, because that will then, once we kind of bring everything together, I think it will illustrate to us which questions really need to be on this assessment, if maybe all three working groups are asking the same question, things of that nature. So again, don't worry about that sort of overlap. I think if you all need assistance in locating, you're trying to think there was an ethics opinion that I remember from somewhere around 15 years ago and I just can't find it, feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email. We can assist in that endeavor if you're trying to pull together some of those different resources that may be helpful to attach to the questions that you're drafting. But again, even that idea is kind of borrowed from what you see in Colorado. Colorado provides a number of different resources attached to the questions that they pose, whereas Wyoming just has questions. So I think this is where we want to give the freedom to all those that are participating here to draft as you think would be most appropriate for practitioners in going through this self-assessment.
Yeah, and I think it has to be just basic. I think we're dealing with some real basic stuff here. I think some of the larger firms have some really built-in protections in their cybersecurity infrastructure. So I think we want to, build out just a real basic, solid self-assessment question and answer and possible resource connection. Nothing really, fancy at all. Is that
if I can jump in real quick?
Yeah.
Having actually had the benefit of putting together several cybersecurity checklists when I was blogging on technology, one of the things that became apparent to me is that it is crucially important and also actually pretty straightforward and easy to put together a list of questions that also includes follow-up questions or subsequent, a secondary level of points. They're not that difficult to come up with. It's not that difficult, even if there's a two-part answer. So you answer yes, you get one series of questions. No, you get another series of questions. It's not that hard to do. It's not that hard to come up with. And I do think in an area like cybersecurity where there really are probably only 10 primary questions to ask. You could ask 10 questions and cover almost the entire breadth of what a firm needs to cover in cybersecurity. The real problem comes in when you get an answer to those questions. There are follow-up questions that do need to be asked. I don't think that having a series of follow-up questions is actually even that onerous, because most of them are going to have yes or no answers. So I would definitely say complexity is not necessarily the enemy if a complex question can be edited down or condensed into a more reader and user-friendly or non-tech savvy way. So I think that start with complex and then whittle down.
Yeah, I call them drop down questions. When if you answer yes, then go here, but no, you drop down and go over here. And I think that's the idea, is to have a format and a platform like that. And I guess the question is whether or not we should have links to any resources that relate to the actual questions that are being asked and the drop-down questions that are asked.
Evan, Catherine Fry has her hand up.
So I had a question, or maybe it's a suggestion. I'm sure it's within my committee's group or scope to address this, but the engagement that comes with a sheet of paper is pretty limited. And so is it possible that we could approach this by having a checklist, but also grouping items in 5 to 10 minute video segments? You know, we shoot a video off of an iPhone of 2 people sort of talking about the checklist, not going through every item, not answering every question, but as almost a hook to say, hey, if you're interested in this issue, the State Bar has this checklist for you. And then we can have a hyperlink over to the website that would have the checklist. But I think just having a paper to try to get people excited about, especially since they're not getting anything for filling out the form, if we could couple that with, as everyone's compiling their checklist, with sort of a, hey, here are the 4 or 5 things that would be really intriguing or interesting for people. And if we could think about how we could couple that with something. And I came up with the video idea just because it's easy. It's not going to take a lot, and we can recycle it. And it may be a good way to sort of get people, they're like, oh, okay, what they're talking about is kind of interesting. And then they get to the checklist with more information. And so I just wanted to, since everyone's going to be working on this for the next 2 months or so, I wanted to see if, you know, the people who are doing the heavy lifting, if you thought that that was something that would help sell these checklists and the help we're trying to get to folks.
Yeah, Catherine, I think the idea was that once we get the, you know, the actual work product together, you know, you're going to come off the bench at that point, and you're going to be handed the ball, and then your committee is going to take what the substantive drop downs and questions and work product and put it in the best marketing position or positions that will work. So you're kind of on standby till we get something.
Well,
I'm on the bench.
You're on the
if
bench.
if I can follow up with something that Catherine said. Catherine, I would actually say, having experience doing short video clips, thing from my technology blog, I don't think there's any reason to say that we can't have a short video explainer or thing on every this. I mean, if I'm looking at this screen, I see a whole bunch of faces, and even if you're not necessarily comfortable with the subject itself, A, it's really pretty straightforward to write a very basic script, or B, a question and answer between two people, one person who is more comfortable and one person who's less comfortable, could be a phenomenally effective way of getting across the points that we want to make. And the bottom line is 2 to 4 minute marketing videos are probably the what we rated now some of the single most effective ways of getting information across to customers. I don't see why that wouldn't be a perfect attachment to every single one of these potential questions.
Like the idea. Yeah, Catherine, you got your hand up still?
I don't.
Oh,
I'll probably do virtually. Let me see if I can undo that.
Okay.
I'm thinking, Catherine, a music video.
I mean, Warren and Patty and I have done that a few times, so I feel confident that post-pandemic, you know, Patty's got some dance moves. Do not let her fool you.
Oh, yes, don't you know?
She could do the 2-step.
And Warren has a beautiful voice.
Yeah, told to write us some lyrics.
I sing like Yul Brenner.
Well, Walter will help you. He just volunteered to sing a duet with you.
He'll be my horn section.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, you know, talking about format, I'm really impressed by this Colorado self-assessment, the way it asks a question and then it puts it in context about ethical considerations. Because we have talked about all this is really about our ethical obligations, right? This whole educational self-assessment process is to make sure that we're meeting our ethical our ethical requirements for our clients, and then providing other resources. I mean, it's it's a really nice tool. I don't know if we have in mind something that's just going to be an online. It'll be on the bar website that you can access, or it's a standalone thing, or both. I don't know if we thought about that at all, but at least the format of that really is impressive to me, and the thought that went into it, and really well done.
Yeah, I think we can borrow a lot from that and build on it. And I think that Brian Folk has, like he says, he's got several in the can already. What about you guys on cyber attacks? Judge Cobb and who else is on that? Takia Lewis and Patrick, you're on that, I think. And Ted, aren't you on that too?
About another 30 minutes or
Yep.
Yeah. Anything on that you want to bring up, or gives you any heartburn or any worries?
There's plenty of heartburn around cyber attacks. We had reported back in October, we came up with some general categories that were of particular concern, and those were listed in the minutes. We have probably 8 to 10 questions in each of those categories, and then some other ancillary categories as well, which resulted in a series of questions much too long for a self-assessment. But as the famous quote goes, we would have made it shorter if we'd had more time. But we can circulate that around. And with Takia joining the subgroup, we need to get that out to everyone in the subgroup. And I believe Walter and Brian Oaten have copies of those questions already. We can send those around, or those
I do.
I can send those around.
I think that the cyber attack issue just brings in a whole host of ethical issues that are unique to the cyber attack issue. So, and I think when Brian Folk gave us that sort of summary back maybe a year and a half ago, we talked about, who to notify, when to notify, what to do, how to do it, and sort of how to mitigate and repair damage, and also notify your clients and others that need to be notified. So to me, that's a complicated area of ethical obligations, and that really need a lot of, I think, some drop down questions. And so I haven't seen what you guys have done yet, but I would ask you to look closely at what ethical obligations are required in a cyber attack.
Yeah. And most of those come around confidentiality, and then the trust accounting, safeguarding property, communication side of things. There are not a lot of rules involved, and there's not a lot of guidance out there right now. One of the relevant opinions out there is RPC from, I think, 95, talking about advising clients on cordless telephones, and how you just need to talk about the risks and benefits of technology. So the key, I think, for our group and for a lot of this project is going to have it be approachable, because it's very easy, especially for folks like Brian and myself who are really in the weeds on this thing. We can get very deep very quickly. So having something that's approachable for the average attorney that gets them started on the right path, but hits on kind of the big issues is going to be key.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell both Patrick and you and Brian, you too. I'm gonna reach out to both of you guys for to see if you'll participate in an hour-long CLE here for the Mecklenburg County Bar on some issues that we're talking about here. So be prepared for me to sort of tap you on the shoulder a little bit. Mac, you're on the staff awareness, as you know, as is who else is on that committee that's on here? Dorothy's on it, and Patrice is on it. I think. Yep. So you guys got any questions, issues, or problems?
No, unless you're trying to turn this into a pop quiz.
No, not at all.
Okay,
I think that's.
Do feel like the students in the law class, right?
Right.
No, I don't either. I mean, I liked a lot of the questions and things that were already posed.
Right. Same here.
Okay.
I think that's a good starting point for us.
Yep. All right. Okay. Well, March 26th is our next we got a hard deadline really for the first time, and we'll probably send out a reminder about a week before. But if you guys are finished with your draft questions and drop downs and resources, send them around to, or send them to Brian or Leonore, and they'll send them around to everybody. All right.
Okay.
Sounds great.
All right. Well, that's it. If anybody want to say anything else, otherwise we'll adjourn and see what comes through the email. All right. Happy New Year to everybody. And,
Thanks, Evan.